Hi, hello everyone, this is Aegon of Astora, and welcome back to my blind playthrough of Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. This is episode number 14, being recorded on Sunday, January the 26th, 2025. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, whenever it is you find yourself watching this. So, we're back here, really, that's quite the L2 attack you have there, friend. We're back here really for no particular reason. Other than this is where we left off. I don't have any fresh insight to offer or anything here just yet, but we're going to end up probably warping around a lot anyway as we discuss the comments. So I've gone through the comment section for each episode and I've hearted comments that we're going to discuss today. So let's start with the comments on episode 1 and then work our way to the most recently released episode, which is episode 10 at the time of recording anyway. And yeah, let's talk about some comments. So again, starting on episode 1, Uncle Fenris writes, "Huzzah for the return of the king. Soulsmith is real. So good to see you back in my feed, Aegon. Well, happy to be back. So funny to see your first steps into the realm of shadow match my own to an uncanny degree. The first landscape upon arriving is so heavily scarred by the ravages of war. FromSoft really smacks you in the face with it, or rather, caves in your noggin with a 2-ton fist of an incandescent cage golem. What's really compelling is the language they use to describe the war. Mesmer led a crusade to scour the land with fire. Is the religious zeal that word connotates sincere? Just an excuse? Doesn't matter either way. The past year has had me thinking a lot about motivations behind war and genocide, and the reasons and results of colonial violence. There are some harrowing parallels that can be gleaned between Mesmer and the Hornsent, and things that are ongoing to this day. It all reminds me of this quote from fantasy author Joe Abercrombie in his novel Red Country. Evil turned out to not be a grand thing, not sneering emperors with their world-conquering designs, not cackling demons plotting in the darkness beyond the world. It was small men with their small acts and their small reasons. It was selfishness and carelessness and waste. It was bad luck, incompetence, and stupidity. It was violence divorced from conscience or consequence. It was high ideals, even, and low methods." Really lovely of you to share your playthrough with us. Very excited for your thoughts on what's to come. The DLC was a very intriguing extension of the base game, and it's very dense. Can't wait. Well, thank you, as always, Uncle Fenris, for the kind and thoughtful, extremely thoughtful comment. And as should have been apparent in the previous episode, you're not the only one who played through this game thinking about the motivations behind war and genocide and the ongoing reasons and results of colonial violence, as you put it. So thank you very much for your extremely thoughtful comment. Gazard TV writes, "You should probably check out the story trailer for the DLC if you haven't already. It's basically the intro cutscene for the DLC, but for some reason is nowhere in the game." Okay, interesting. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, it looks like there are a few trailers here, so I suppose we might as well watch them all. Let's start with Welcome to the Land of Shadow.
Pure and radiant.
Okay, first it's Ansbach narrating this, although that appears to be Leda standing in Mohg's boss room.
He wields love to shrive clean the hearts of men. There is nothing more terrifying.
There's Freya.
Place. Blood must spill. Blood of your fellows.
Okay, I assume that's Moor's voice? But that could be that NPC that we've missed that everyone's talking about in the comment section, whose name currently escapes me. My apologies.
They are
True faithful.
They were never saints. They just happened to be on the losing side of a war.
Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of life?
So I think I questioned when we did that boss fight whether that line is contingent upon whether you've beaten the game or not, but based on the sort of what we're seeing here, I would imagine that probably that line is there probably regardless, just in recognition of what is unique or special about the player character. But yeah, because of course the player character is in the lines between, in part because they have that vision imposed upon them, so it doesn't necessarily mean we've beaten the game or anything. But anyways,
I presume you, too, are keen to know just what kind Mikula is doing here.
interesting that last one. Because it's possible that we did something different, but this hippopotamus friend did not turn into a golden hippopotamus when we fought them here. They only turned into a golden hippopotamus when we fought them in the Shadow Keep, the entrance to the Shadow Keep, so that's interesting. So either they did this specifically for the trailer, or we somehow avoided this, or they changed it over the course of development.
Those stripped.
Who is this? Okay, maybe I shouldn't be watching these trailers. I have no idea who this is.
Race of
Horrifying, though.
shadow meet death. The new race of restless flame.
Come now, touch the withered arm, and travel to the realm of shadow. I will not be far behind. May we meet again.
Suitably epic. There's good old kindly Mikula. I assume that was the ending cutscene there, a glimpse of it that we just saw, because we didn't see anything like that previously. Oh, cool collector stuff. Okay. Now let's check out the story trailer.
Mikula the Kind spoke of the beginning. The seduction and the betrayal.
Okay, spoke of the beginning, the seduction and the betrayal, an affair from which gold arose. Yeah. And of course, there's this red sticky goo here. Let's watch that again. So yeah, they're sticking their hands into some flesh and pulling something out.
Seduction and the betrayal. An affair from which gold arose.
Okay, so that's the rune Mikola broke, presumably, and presumably he's preparing to break it here. This is the portal at the top of Inner Ilum.
And so too was Shadow born.
Okay, so there's some betrayal that led to the birth of the Realm of Shadow. Okay.
What followed was a war unseen. One that could never be put to song. A purge without grace or honor. The tyranny of Mesmer's flame.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not really saying anything. I haven't really said anything for the last minute or so. Sort of in awe at the beauty of the cutscene, but also questioning why they would leave this out. It's very strange, because yeah, you're left to sort of pick up the pieces and make sense of what has happened when that would have been very obvious by just having watched the story trailer. And, you know, I don't think everyone would have done that. And that's fine, but yeah, it's a bit curious. So that's more or less consistent with what we knew already. However, I still don't know what this sort of original sin was, so to speak, where it was the thing that created the Realm of Shadow, and then the Realm of Shadow was created, and then presumably Marika sent Mesmer to deal with the Realm of Shadow, to, I guess, erase the memory of... Or to erase the evidence, I should say, of whatever that original sin was. And the Realm of Shadow itself is the evidence of the original sin. And so they couldn't sing songs about it, not only because, much like the Shattering, it was a war without honor and a war without all, you know, etc., but also because the whole idea of the war was they were erasing the memory of it. So yeah, I spoke in the previous episode, of course, about Palestine and, you know, some of the extremely problematic tactics that the state of Israel has used historically to erase any connection between the Palestinian people and the land of Palestine. And, you know, part of that was during and following the 1948 Nakba, they razed Palestinian villages to the ground and then renamed them with new names and, you know, erased all surviving traces of, you know, textual evidence and archives and things like that that serve as evidence of that link between the Palestinian people and their land. In line with what Israeli historian Ilan Pape calls, I believe he calls it memoricide. So you're erasing any memories that the Palestinian people have by erasing their archives and archival materials. And in the more recent conflict in Gaza, where they essentially bombed any educational institution they could find, you know, in addition to bombing hospitals and residential areas and things like that, they were bombing educational institutions, they were bombing any sort of building that is essential for civilian infrastructure, but also for memory, institutional memory. They want to make it as difficult as possible for the Palestinian people to illustrate their relationship with the land. So anyways, yeah, that seems to be something very similar happening here, which is to say that the forces of Mesmer and company are trying their darndest to erase any trace of the Shadow Realm and the people, and thereby to erase any connection to that original sin, whatever it was.
And so kindly Mikula would abandon everything. His golden flesh, his blinding strength, even his fate.
Okay, that's clearly Saint Trina sort of falling into where we end up finding her, I guess. The Garden of Deep Purple. Described as Mikula's fate.
We choose to follow.
Okay, so let's see if we can recognize everyone here. So from left to right, that's Needle Knight Letta. And then there's Dryleaf Dane. Hornsent, Freya, and that must be the missing NPC in between Freya and Ansbach. So that must be, what is his name? Tholier or something? Tholier. And then after Ansbach is Moore.
Will you walk with us?
Okay, pretty cool. I guess the most significant revelation there is this idea of this original sin, which, you know, we still don't know what it is. In some of the comments, it was suggested that I missed what the original sin was because I skipped some dialogue, I think, when invading Needle Knight Letta on behalf of, or at least I thought on behalf of Hornsent. Okay, it's been about a month and a half since I last recorded, and I believe the last thing we did was watch the story trailer. So let's continue and see the journey so far. I don't know what this one will involve. This was released on June 12th, I believe that is. So let's have a look. Okay, so it looks like a recap of the main game as well, leading into the DLC to sort of refresh everyone's memory, so that's interesting.
How could it come to this? Long ago, the Elden Ring brought prosperity to the lands between, but one day it was shattered. The shards, great runes of enormous power, fell into the hands of the demigods. And although the demigods fought for control, in the end, there was no victor.
It's interesting that it said the runes, the great runes, fell into the hands of the demigods. So framing it as though it wasn't even an intentional choice. I had always assumed that Marika had gifted the great runes to the various different demigods. I hadn't considered the possibility that it was sort of an accidental inheritance. I'm not sure if that's what they were going for with that phrasing, but it is curious, I think. Yeah, it says fell into the hands of the demigods. Certainly I can see that being the case for Godric. And so perhaps that wouldn't be accidental that we're seeing Godric here, doing some grafting, engaging in grafting. Fun times as always. But yeah, just a thought.
Gods. And although the demigods fought for control, in the end, there was no victor.
So again, reinforcing the same point that I've been making or trying to make over and over and over again, that, you know, in the previous episode we talked about military occupations and how if you have goals that you want to meet, if you have objectives that you want to satisfy, a military occupation is probably not the way to go about achieving those goals and achieving those objectives. So yeah, again, we're seeing that point reinforced here.
And so began an era without a lord. Until, from across the sea of fog, a tarnished of no renown arrives at the lands between. The tarnished takes their first steps into the world, knowing not what awaits them.
Greetings, traveler from beyond the fog. I am Melina. I offer you an accord.
Gosh darn it. Okay, I'll refresh this in a second. I just had a thought about Melina. So obviously her left eye is shut. And I'm wondering now if we're meant to think about parallels with Mesmer, because obviously, just a thought to consider for a moment. But yeah, I don't really have any follow-up, so let's reload this and try this again. Apologies for that, everyone.
Offer you an accord.
Tarnished accepts Melina's request and begins a journey to bring her to the base of the Erdtree. As they explore, the lands between become known to the Tarnished, and they gain power, shaping themselves in their own way. Throughout their journey, they cross paths with unlikely allies.
Death has left its mark once again.
Rise with us against the Erdtree.
Listen. The fingers speak.
And fearsome foes that stand in their way.
Well, a lowly tarnished, playing as a lord. I command thee, kneel!
So much power in the hands of one Tarnished, growing in strength with every triumph, who crossed the fog to the lands between, to stand before the Elden Ring, and become the Elden Lord. The lands between are yours to discover.
Okay, I was about to say, okay, but what about the DLC? And then, yeah, never mind. Okay, so they just sort of graphed, the pun intended, they just sort of graphed the DLC promo onto the end of that. Because, yeah, I was thinking this should be interesting because it should perhaps provide some insight into... Again, yeah, I should have known better. It might provide some insight into how we're supposed to think about the story of the DLC connecting to the story of the base game, but it didn't really do that. So, yeah, anyways, that was interesting all the same. No revelations as best as I can tell, based on my understanding of everything to date. Like, maybe there's some clues in there that I didn't notice because I'm not aware of like deeper aspects of the story, but yeah, it was interesting all the same. Okay, so we have three more. Okay, I don't know what these videos are, but Witness the Birth of a God. So presumably it has something to do with Mikola. So, and this was released June 20th. When was the DLC itself released? Let me just double check that. Oh, okay. So the DLC was released on the 21st. So this would have been, so this was just sort of a hype video, I suppose. And this one was released the day before the DLC actually came out. So let's have a look.
My loyal blade and champion of the festival.
So presumably, Miquella is speaking to Melania there. Loyal blade and champion of the festival. But no. Okay, yeah, I think this was in my notes. I don't remember if I addressed this or not. So it's almost like Miquella is addressing Miquella is addressing Melania as well as the player character. My loyal blade on the one hand, and my champion of the festival on the other. You both are great. I think you guys are wonderful. It's not you, it's me. And because it's me, this terrible breakup joke, that I picked Radon, not Radagon, Aegon. In the previous episode, I said Radagon like 1,000 times when I meant to say Radon. Apologies for that. But that Miquella, for some reason, has picked Radon over Melania. It's not so surprising that Miquella picked Radon over the Tarnished player character, but it is surprising that Miquella would choose Radon over Melania, because Melania is, as Miquella puts it, his loyal blade. So, yeah.
Both your deeds will ever be praised in song.
Both your deeds, so the deeds of Melania as well as the player character.
Is there no hope for redemption? The answer, sadly, is clear.
I don't think we've been to that place where it was all dark.
The mere sight of your blade sets my heart aflutter. All the more I yearn to crush it in my grasp.
It's the Garden of Deep Purple.
The Erdtree is my people's enemy.
The Sealing Tree.
By Marika long betrayed, set aflame.
Yeah, see, this is also why I don't really understand the sort of, like, I do and I don't, the whole trailer hype culture where you break down every single trailer before a game comes out, or every single trailer for a movie before a movie comes out, because then, like, you're just waiting to see certain things that you've seen in the trailer, or, like, I don't know. It far be it for me to tell people how to spend their time and what to do. I imagine if my life were different and I were in grad school again or something like that, like, I would probably still be right there with all of you, watching all the trailers and getting hyped up before the release of a new thing. But I do think there's something special about not being aware of what's coming and actually being able to just enjoy it first time without any sort of prior knowledge of it. But anyways. Okay. As though to completely contradict myself, because I think this is that friend from that other trailer that we've still not seen. So presumably, like, the main boss of the area that we've not been able to access yet. Yeah, there's the Dragon Priestess.
The fog
Count.
my aging faculties is beneath,
Bowl Cut Friend.
and follies better left forgotten haunt me once again.
Camul, of course.
Such as it is, this battle could not be more fitting. For the
Oh, come on. I don't know what's going on with my internet right now. My apologies, everyone.
This battle could not be more fitting. For the birth of a new god and the coming of a lord.
Okay, that's new.
You'll be my consort.
Okay, so that was Mikola asking Radon to be his consort. And so presumably that would have been something historical. Very interesting stuff. This next one is United in Shadow. What is that? Thumbnail. Hold on. Okay. Oh, it's an actual commercial.
You who have braved between scaled mountains,
Okay.
battled gods, you who have toppled kings, slain immortals, harnessed the moon and stars, you who have forged your legend in fire, are being called
Okay, that's good.
called back for another chapter of another story that has yet to be told. Where you once rose as tarnished, now you must fall from grace.
Okay, that's a cool ad. Unfortunately, perhaps a bit unrealistic. Aww. Okay, that was cute. Perhaps a bit unrealistic, the sort of extent of the fandom is perhaps not that widespread, but who knows? I'm not really involved to the extent that I was previously, so maybe it is much more widespread. My understanding is that Elden Ring has been a commercial success above and beyond that of any of the previous. Oh, jeez, the neighbors upstairs are like bowling or something, so my apologies if you're hearing loud banging in the background. But yeah, my understanding is that it's been much more, that Elden Ring is a much greater commercial success than any of the previous Souls games. So good on FromSoft for that. Well deserved, I think. Okay, so this last one is Heed Now the Words of Those Who Have Returned from the Realm of Shadow. So this would have been released, yeah, just 6 days after the DLC was actually released. Oh, so it's like the review hype, basically. All the reviews have started coming in. Okay, yeah, so really not much there, I don't think. Although, okay, I might as well just continue watching. We've already watched a fifth of it. Just in case there's some nugget at the end that we will have missed otherwise. But these are all shots we've seen in other trailers, I think. The 10 out of 10 IGN right in the middle. I don't know if they meant for that to be a meme or what, but yeah, that's pretty funny. Okay, so yeah, I enjoyed that. It was nice to see all these videos and trailers that I've not yet seen. Obviously, we got a bit of a preview of what awaits us in that area that we've not been able to access yet, and hopefully we will be able to figure that out in this episode, but we'll see. So thanks to Gazar TV for the suggestion, because yeah, I enjoyed doing that, so thanks again. Inserted Mahir 969. Not sure how to pronounce that, so apologies. Blood loss in vicinity, bleed procs that happen near you give you a damage boost. So yeah, that's something I questioned repeatedly, not just in this playthrough, but in my playthrough of the base game. So thank you for the explanation. I appreciate that. Felipe ZP90K writes, 47 minutes you missed a crucial lore-wise item behind the church to the left side. Okie dokie. Let's go have a look. Okay, so this is the Church of Consolation right up here. Stop it, doggo. So behind the church on the left-hand side. Oh. Okay, wow. I really missed an obvious one, didn't I? A whole bunch of soldiers here. Oh, Blessing of Marika. Okay. Well, obviously we've since picked one of those up, but we could have had one of those very early on, and we missed it, so my apologies for that. Para2 Normal writes, you should always be careful of deities or semi-deities called the kind. In English folklore, fairies were referred to as the kindly folk, or the good neighbors, because people were terrified of causing offense. So yeah, that's not something I was aware of, so thank you for sharing. An interesting case study, I suppose, in reverse psychology. You could also probably argue that this is an example of a sort of panoptic surveillance. So that being Michel Foucault's understanding of the panopticon, cylindrical prison block with an observation tower in the center, where the inmates are aware that they can be seen by the prison guards at any time, but they don't know if they're actually being observed. So therefore, the prospect of them being observed is enough to the disciplinary power shapes how they actually behave, even though they may not actually be under surveillance. So disciplinary power functions automatically, regardless of whether someone is actually watching. And in this case, yeah, presumably people would be trying to ensure that these evil deities don't come for them by referring to them using nice words, even though they're actually terrified of them. So yeah, really interesting stuff. So thanks for sharing. So moving on to episode 2 now, Saint Sam writes, now that you've finished the DLC, I think it's definitely intentional that the base game does not build up the jars to be scary. Notice the lids. The jars in the base game bear the Erdtree symbol. They're meant to carry fallen warriors back to the Erdtree for burial, if I recall correctly. We're a far cry from stuffing people in jars while living. So yeah, very interesting stuff. Thank you very much for sharing that. I have wondered, in particular given the mini video essay that was featured in the previous episode, whether the Hornsent have any sort of justification, whether their actions in stuffing people into the jars could be justified in some way, shape, or form. I'm not sure that it could be, but, maybe justified isn't the correct word, but whether from their perspective their actions might be understandable, whether they're logical within the context of the oppression they've experienced, having been ethnically cleansed from the realm of shadow for the most part and subject to a brutal military occupation. But yeah, I'm just wondering out loud, thinking out loud. So thank you very much for sharing. That's a very interesting contrast in how the jars are portrayed in the base game versus the DLC. So yeah, thank you. Anarchist Artificer writes, regarding transhumanism, I can't believe I hadn't noticed how prominent of a theme it is. Other examples include Melania becoming the goddess of Rot, Rykard becoming Snek, and arguably Radon using gravity magic to make himself light enough to ride his horse. The Omens are an interesting case also in that the world consistently treats them as subhuman, though I think they might even be divinely blessed by whatever came before the Erdtree, possibly the Crucible Tree. I'm reading this comment while you're doing the dungeon, and I find it funny that the horrifying jars are yet another example of transhumanism. I don't have the academic background to analyze themes like this very well, which is why I adored your video essay on the game, but I do wonder about the intersection between transhumanism and apotheosis. Empyrean has, of course, been a term of much debate, but I find it interesting who is eligible to be one, and how the player interacts with them. The fact that most of the demigods are only interacted with in boss fights makes them feel distinctively other. Even Ranni, who we do get to speak to, is in the form of a doll, having slain her own flesh. It gives a sense of distance between her and the player, even, especially, in playthroughs where the player becomes her consort. With this distance in mind, I reflect again on Sorceress Sellen. The culmination of her transhumanist journey does not seem to be a positive one. It's hard to communicate with what she becomes, and it's certainly possible that she would tell us that she's glad and her plight was worth it. But it seems to be an agonizing, somewhat Icarian outcome. This contrast with the Empyreans gives me a sense of transhumanism for me, but not for thee. Was Sellen's real folly that she didn't start out as a demigod? So yeah, you might say that you don't have the academic background to analyze the themes, but I'd say this is pretty apt. And, I have an academic background, but I have nothing to add here other than to say this is very interesting and insightful, and thank you so much for sharing. So moving on to episode 3, and I guess in this episode I spent a lot of time complaining about the Scadutree fragments because there are several comments having to do with the Scadutree fragments, and I've mentioned them in the previous episode, but I just wanted to read some of them out so that I'm not being unfair to the people who left these comments in the previous episode when I discussed these comments. And yeah, I just want to make sure that I've not given people a short shrift. So Slice Hazard 624 writes, I feel a more helpful way to think about the Scadutree fragments is as the DLC equivalent to the Golden Seeds and Sacred Tears. They are meant to be rewards for exploration that power up your character. The game expects you to use them in the same way it expects you to upgrade your flask. Choosing not to use them would be the same as choosing not to upgrade your flask in order to make the game more difficult. Of course, there's probably a better way they could have communicated that, but still. So I did address this in the previous episode, I believe, when I argued essentially that when you're talking about damage numbers, the damage you receive and the damage you deal, I do think it's different. I think there's a qualitative difference there that goes beyond just, you're upgrading your flask and that's that. And, it's sort of an indirect thing when you're upgrading your flask because, yes, it affects your ability in that when you take a hit for 100 HP, if you're only healing for 50 HP instead of 70 HP, then you have fewer flasks. You don't have the ability to take as much damage. But when a boss is two-shotting you, I find that a lot more frustrating than not being able to heal fast enough. And so maybe that's just me, but I do think that there's a distinct difference there. When you're powering up damage numbers without upgrading a weapon or doing something fairly obvious, like it's just some intangible thing. Like I still don't have an understanding of the mechanics of how burning a Scadutree fragment both allows you to deal more damage and to reduce the amount of damage dealt to you. Like when you're upgrading a flask, like that's something that I can wrap my head around. That makes sense within the context of the world. But I don't understand how burning a Scadutree fragment is reducing the damage you receive and increasing the damage you deal. Unless, and I'm just thinking out loud here, this just came to me, unless burning a Scadutree fragment somehow weakens the Scadutree, which reduces the amount of, I guess, shadow power that the people of the Shadow Realm or those who inhabit the Shadow Realm are subject to. And so, in that context, maybe, but that's perhaps a bit of a stretch because I don't see any reason why that wouldn't impact the player character as well, because the player character is also in the Shadow Realm, unless they are not considered of the Shadow Realm. But again, you see what I mean? You have to go several levels and make a number of assumptions. You have to stack assumptions on top of one another to have it make sense or to have it be equivalent to something like upgrading your flask or upgrading your weapon or upgrading armor. Those things are a lot more straightforward and direct, whereas this is a more indirect one that you really have to jump through hoops to make it work, in my opinion anyway. So thank you for sharing all the same. Furpishable writes, everyone uses the fragments. It's how the DLC is designed to ensure a continued sense of progression despite the main game being out for years and people having level 150 to 250 characters. Most people I've watched fight this boss have Scadu Blessing level 4 to 7 for this fight. I assume they're referring to R'hllana or Khamûl. And as Khamûl. And as you mentioned, this is the second boss. The coming ones hit even harder. Personally, I like the Scatter-Tree fragment system. It allows you to keep your base rune level for things such as matchmaking, for summoning, and PvP, while also allowing you to progress in strength and reward exploration with something other than armor sets you're not going to use, meager upgrade materials for weapons you probably already have the bell bearings for, crafting resources, etc. P.S. I presume the twin moon thing is a reference to the fact that the lands between has 2 moons in its night sky. The full moon that R'hllana communes with, and the dark moon that Ranni communes with. So yeah, very interesting touch there at the end. And again, I've already sort of made my feelings known about the Scatter-Tree fragment system. I do think these are fair points, but I think on balance, in my opinion, again, as well, that I think it's just something that was done better in previous FromSoft games, how they handled the DLC, that is. Having people with level 150, 130 characters was never a problem in previous Souls games, at least not as far as I can recall. And, those DLCs worked out just fine, so I don't see why they couldn't have done something similar here, but, that's just me. Greater Than Infinity writes, the moon pools are a kind of scrying pool used to look at the stars and the moon. Even our real-world astronomers used pools like that, or early telescopes used pools of water or mercury to make smooth surfaces for looking at details in the sky. Yeah, very interesting. That's not something I thought of, the reflectiveness of the water and how that might be used to, aid our view of the night sky. So thank you for sharing that. That's really interesting. Kepe7323 writes, those textures above the canopy of the tree, that is the Scatter-Tree, are in fact the same ones they use for roots. For example, those found in Catacombs boss arenas connected to the Erdtree. So thank you for pointing this out. That's something that I speculated about, I believe, in this episode, but that's very interesting because it does, in fact, look like the roots that you see at the top of the tree, which led me to wonder about whether the Shadow Realm may be stacked beneath the lands between. So yeah, we'll have to return to that, but something that's very interesting, I think. Hubba Bubba 768 writes, fire arrows aren't worth crafting. You can buy unlimited amounts from a vendor in Caelid and they do more damage than the crafted ones. But more important, I think this is the reason I highlighted this comment, there is something else that looks like a braid, DNA. So yeah, the DNA double helix does look sort of like a braid. So that's something very interesting. When I highlighted this comment, there was something else I wanted to talk about here, but I'm not really prepared to talk about it right now. So I think I'll leave it for now, other than to throw this out there for something for myself and everyone else to think about with respect to the storyline significance of the braid, or the thematic significance of the braid, and how many things in this game are braided. So yeah, something for us to think about, certainly, especially in the context of the horn scent and their resistance to their occupiers. Zachary Thompson writes, yeah, I think the person who described the fragments as modifying difficulty was doing you a disservice. They are far more like memories from Sekiro, a stat boost as a reward. So yeah, as I mentioned in the previous episode, direct thine ire at me and me alone. I don't think it was that person's fault. I would have felt the same way regardless. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, it's been, 6 years since I played Sekiro, something like that. But I don't think this is necessarily a good comparison because you know what else gives stat boosts as a reward? Leveling up. So, because I seem to recall anyway that in Sekiro, that's basically what it was. When you got a memory in Sekiro, you were basically leveling up. So it wasn't an additional system on top of the level up mechanic as in the Scatter-Tree fragments. So I don't personally buy this comparison because I don't think it's a fair comparison. But again, that's just my opinion. Okay, on to episode 4. Rince Windus writes, the snake message next to the ladder is because there's a pretty famous scene involving a long ladder in Metal Gear Solid 3, whose main character is Snake. So yeah, thank you for this, because I was reasonably certain that I was missing some sort of inside joke here, so I'm glad I wasn't just imagining it. But yeah, the last Metal Gear Solid game I played was the first one, so it's been a long time. And yeah, I never played Metal Gear Solid 3, so that explains why I didn't get that joke. But thank you for sharing and explaining, because I was perplexed about those messages. Torakuso writes, personally, I think Dane as a character is heavily inspired by wuxia, or at least some popular culture aesthetics and narratives about Chinese martial artists, particularly those related to monks and practitioners of faith ways. If you go along with this line of thinking, then the palm blast is probably a reference to the Buddhist palm, not any particular work, just the concept in general, as one example. This does not preclude him from being black, of course. I thought that was a very interesting take, though it was somewhat unexpected. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was just the lighting or what. It did look to me that the character was black, but I don't know. But that's, thank you very much for providing some additional background about the character and the cultural ideas that seem to have inspired it. So thank you for this. J.L. Meyer 7 writes, as for the dragons giving a max level smithing stone as a reward, the majority of people playing this game have used all their max upgrade stones by the time this came out. You can buy all stones at Round Table Hold, assuming you found the bell bearings, except for the max level stones. I think it's an appropriate reward since players are finding cool new weapons they want to try out. So yeah, very well said. And that's a good point. So, I didn't mean to complain and be like, well, I can't believe they're giving these things out, but it was more of just, I don't particularly enjoy fighting the dragons. I don't know if I'm being sarcastic, of course. I was going to say, I don't know if that was obvious from the playthrough, because obviously it was obvious. But yeah, I was just hoping for something a little bit more than that personally, but I totally get that for many people, the Ancient Dragon Smithing Stones are a great reward, given how long the game's been out, and many people on their main builds will have run out of those stones by now. So yeah, totally makes sense. Thank you for sharing. So on to episode 5, and this is the episode in which the Great Rune broke, and Painful Discourse 5231 writes, real shame you missed Thiolier? I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. In the first area before the Great Rune broke. And some others have noted that he's still there. And yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering whether I should look up his location in the first area to see whether he is still there. I somehow doubt that he would be, given that we're basically at the end of the DLC at this point, save for the one area I've not been able to find. Okay, let's go have a look and see. Okay, so apparently, there's a site of grace called the Pillar Path Cross, which is in this direction, and Tholier should be near there, but where's the path? No, we just, I think that might have been what happened last time. We took the high road, or pardon me, we took the low road instead of the high road. Although I'm not seeing any items here, which would indicate, oh no, actually there are items here that we've clearly missed. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's a cross here too, I guess. Yeah, the name of the site of grace makes sense. Wow, unbelievable that I missed this. Pillar Path Cross. I abandon here a part of the flesh of my body. Okay, it looks like the NPC is gone, unfortunately. Suppose I should have paid more attention to that map that the Hornsent gave me. Okay, yeah, so J.L. Meyer 7, whose comment I was going to read next anyway, is appropriate because Tholier does not appear to be there. And they say, Aegon brother, please do a wiki-aided New Game Plus run. I would love to see what sort of input you have with the aid of the community and the ability to finish obscure quest lines. So yeah, I'm thinking that I would also very much like to do that. If I do that, I'll just release the episodes as they're completed. I've been thinking more and more that even if I do a sort of, I won't call it a blind playthrough, but even if I do a first playthrough of like a future FromSoft game. Oh, and apparently there's some other Elden Ring game coming out that's supposed to be like Fortnite or something. And there was a network test. I just heard about this, and Night Rain, I think it's called. So interested to hear everyone's thoughts about that in the comment section. Because frankly, I don't really understand what it is, and whether there's something worthwhile there for me to explore, whether it would be something worth diving into from a lore perspective. Are there item descriptions? Like, I don't know. I have not looked into it, and apologies. I probably should do my homework before mentioning things in the videos, but I'm just interested in hearing what everyone else thinks. But yes, I would love to do a wiki-aided New Game Plus run, but yeah, time is the main limiting factor, but we will see. I'm not going to rule it out, so thank you for the suggestion. Ghost Mace Killa 821 writes, I know it's probably too late to tell you this, but the boss you missed in the main game ties into a quest and boss in this DLC. So I assume that is a reference to Aegon and the whole, that whole area that we completed in episode 12, I want to say. I've already forgotten all the details involved, so my apologies. But yeah, we figured as much. But again, that's another thing that we should go back and do, time permitting. Hopefully that's something I'll be able to work out. But yeah, noted, and thank you for pointing this out. So moving on to episode 6, in which we fought Mesmer, and we're sort of confused about the item description mentioning who Mesmer's sister could be. And Dumbname 1961 writes, burning a sealing tree, vision of fire, whoever could that be? Sounds like Melly, replies Silent Servant. And yeah, Melina is obviously a very obvious fit. He says, running out of adjectives. So yeah, fair point. One that I probably should have thought about but didn't, just given the amount of time it's been since I played the base game. But yeah, you use Melina, or Melina uses herself as fuel for burning the Erdtree, and likewise you use Mesmer as fuel for burning the sealing tree. So yeah, very, very interesting stuff. And more than that, earlier thinking about the whole idea of vision and grace, and that Marika inserted a seal of grace in Mesmer's eye to keep the serpent inside of him from getting out and from transforming into some, whatever he ended up being, that Melina's left eye is shut, that it seems to have been forced shut, or she doesn't have an eye. Like, I don't have anything to add other than that very basic observation, but I do wonder whether there's any significance to that Mesmer obviously has a thing with his eyes, and it seems like Melina, at least with her left eye, has a thing going on there as well. So again, not much to add beyond that, but thank you for pointing this out, Dumbname. I really ought to have made that connection myself, but thank you. Theddy Mech 12 writes, you may have missed something near the painting. Oh, geez Louise, I don't remember where the painting is. Do we want to go and check the painting? Given the number of upvotes here, I'm going to say yes. Yeah, we might as well. Okay, here we go. I feel like I'm going to regret this, but let's go for it. Oh, okay. Thankfully, that wasn't all that difficult to find. Oh, gosh darn it, there's an illusory wall right there. How did I miss that? Was I offline or something? Oh, man. Apologies, everyone. Let there be something. In other words, there's nothing in here? Oh. Okay, that's interesting. Didn't expect coffin. Me neither, friend. Me neither. Seems familiar. Okay. What's down here? I guess we're about to find out. Oh, don't tell me this is the way to the other area. Oh my goodness, this is exciting. Oh my goodness. How did I miss this? It makes... Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, everyone. It's so bad. I'm so bad at this game. I'm so bad at this game. All along, it was right there. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the person who wrote that message, and thank you to everyone who upvoted the message, because obviously, yeah. I'm dreadful at this. Why do I even have a YouTube channel, honestly? So this area here is just to show you that they're constantly pushing coffins down here for some reason. Wow, incredible. Absolutely incredible. People are doing Grace's work. Wow. Still Skedu Altis. Oh my goodness. Castle watering hole. Okay. Gosh darn it, Aegon. Okay, we still have some comments to read, so let's go read the rest of the comments before we proceed in this direction. So yeah, thanks again, TheddyMech12. Really appreciate the vagueness of this, and everyone else for upvoting it so that I knew that it was something very, very important. Because yeah, I had no idea how to find that remaining area, so thank you. Now, 3L Raro, or presumably El Raro, writes, a clarification, Aegon. Marika is Mesmer's mother. The statue in his room is the same as the ones in the churches, but cradling a baby instead of the crucifixion pose. That's very interesting. The abyssal serpent is what gives Mesmer his fire. The flames have a black aura, and they move like snakes. So that I did point out, that they move like snakes, but all the same, thank you. His sister might be Melina. She is the kindling maiden, and is tied to destined death, another dark flame. The quote in Mesmer's armor is meant to be understood as Mesmer saying that the whole crusade was his idea and not his mother's, at least publicly. Marika is the one with unending anger against something in the Shadowlands. That's very interesting. Okay. Coiled Up writes, those time for introspection messages on the banks of the swamp are referring to Miyazaki's famous interview snippet on how poison swamps are a place for introspection and reflection for him, and they never fail to get a laugh out of me. So yeah, very well said. I did not know this, so I appreciate the insight, and yeah, thanks to Coiled Up, and also for the 21 people who upvoted this comment so that I knew to check it out, so thank you. And thank you also to Felipe ZP9TK, because I believe you're referring to the same thing that TheddyMech12 was, so thank you. Maybe I'll double check just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. Okay, I just checked, and yes, Felipe was referring to the same place, although I will say in my defense, there were no messages in front of the illusory wall, so I don't know what was up with that. I don't think I was playing offline because it looked like there was another message somewhere else, but yep. That's a big whoopsie boops from me, so thank you everyone for pointing this out, because yeah, wow, that was driving me up the wall, not knowing how to get to that part of the map, so thank you. I was certain that we had to go to the church district to get there, because it was the lowest part of the castle, so, you know, thank you. Otherwise I would have been on a wild goose chase for no reason, so I appreciate the guidance there. JL Meyer 7 writes, I know it's possible that it's too late, but if the summon sign is inside the boss room, it is a quest-related summon. So definitely too late, but this is great knowledge that I will carry forward with me from here on out. So that totally makes sense. And yeah, that's, again, I robbed Hornsent of his opportunity to seek vengeance, as has been pointed out in the comments of later episodes. So that makes sense, because I summoned him once, I think just by accident, because I wanted to just look at the summon sign, but it totally makes sense. And yeah, I guess that's why he was not on my side in the end. Okay, so moving on to episode 7, on which Josh K wrote, "There is a theory that Mesmer and his sister, whose identity I assume you've worked out by now, well, no thanks to myself, but yes, were really children of the Gloam-Eyed Queen, whom Marika stole/adopted and raised as her own from a young age. If there's any weight to that theory, and though I would have trouble summarizing it, I think there is. That could explain why Mesmer is so formal in referring to her. Actually, I need to add something. You caught that Mesmer's boss music contains elements of Radagon's, which is remarkably astute. This has led many to wonder if Mesmer and his sister were older children of the Marika-Radagon union. But I think it's because they're children of Radagon and the Gloam-Eyed Queen. This could have been the seduction and betrayal spoken of in the story cinematic. Radagon falls in love with the god of death and serpents, has children, only to dethrone her and steal their legacy as Marika. And this is apparently a trend, because they would essentially do this again later to Rennala. This could also be the original sin spoken of in several places, a reversal of the big biblical tale of the serpent seducing Eve, where Marika, in her male aspect, seduces the serpent instead. Yeah, very interesting. I don't really have anything to add to that for the time being, other than thank you for pointing this out, and it's something that I'm going to continue to think about, because, yeah, very interesting stuff, and something that is really testing my memory and knowledge of the base game story at this point. But yeah, thank you for this. I appreciate it. For Ambition writes, and I spoke in this episode about the Chalice dungeons and the mechanic around the blood liquor, and For Ambition offered a slight correction, so you have the best info. Blood liquors would spawn after you've killed a bigger enemy. Each one is listed on the wiki with which this mechanic works, with a visceral attack. Went away enough so the room deloaded in which you did the visceral, a blood liquor spawns. So I think I said something about, like, it's if you die in a particular location with a ton of runes or something like that. I was perhaps conflating it with the Vagrant mechanic from Dark Souls 1, which worked with humanity in a similar manner to that which I just described. So thank you, For Ambition, for clarifying and correcting me on that point. I appreciate it. Rince Windus writes, Mesmer doesn't seem to have any vision to begin with. He literally sees you through one of his snakes when you first walk in. Did Marika do something terrible, exile Mesmer, to get something she wanted, the Crusade, or did she do something terrible, the Crusade, so she could get something she wanted, to hide Mesmer? And Coalesced writes in response, or both. Indeed, so yeah, it's a chicken and egg type situation, I think, that you could perhaps see it in either direction. It's interesting stuff though, so thank you for raising this possibility. Nerve8454 writes, I was under the impression that the line in Mesmer's armor set description about directing maledictions was a quote from Mesmer himself and not Marika. Mesmer was sent on this mission by her, but he is taking the bad PR for it, essentially. Thus the line is spoken by Mesmer to anyone who might despise him, and by extension his mother, for butchering the Hornsent. So yeah, very well said, and I appreciate the clarification. I don't know why in my mind that was very obviously a quote from Marika, but yeah, it makes sense in this direction. So thank you for that. ThediMech12 writes, for me, in his death, Mesmer rejected Marika at last, thus the change from mother to her name, pushing her away and distancing himself. Yeah, very interesting interpretation. Thank you for that. Wailing Agony writes, Mesmer taking all the blame from Marika. He asked for the ire to be directed to him only and not her. But in the end, the loving son comes from saying mother, which is a polite way to say mom and was more the usual in old times. To say Marika, like, you're no longer my mother, and take what is due, all the curses I've suffered in your stead. Yeah, again, well said. Thank you for that. Coalesced writes, I take Mesmer saying, Mother, Marika, a curse upon thee, his last words, as a subtle hint as to him making a choice or decision in regards to his prior or ongoing internal struggle. You and I wouldn't call out to our mothers using their first name, but everyone else we have encountered in the Shadowlands calls out or curses Marika by her first name, though Hornsent Grandam also likes to call her Strumpet, which is telling in other ways. By also saying Marika, a curse upon thee, he is acknowledging his victims, their plight, their suffering, and despite being the cause of their destruction, he ultimately aligns himself with them, not Marika. It speaks to one of the deeper narratives at play in the story, generational violence and how it's transmitted from one generation to the next, both in a societal and family relational context. Mesmer does not offer a formal apology, of course, and it's not quite an open admission, but it certainly alludes to an internal struggle being finally acknowledged and resolved. Such is the style of both Miyazaki and Martin. TLDR, Mesmer finally acknowledges and resolves his shame and guilt, first and more personally by cursing his mother. Then he symbolically apologizes to his victims by joining them in cursing Marika by her proper name. That's why he curses both Mother and then Marika, not one or the other, but specifically both. He's speaking both to his mother literally and his victims symbolically. Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. Again, a lot of very interesting and nuanced perspectives on the sort of nonsense rambling I was offering in this episode 7. So thank you very much, everyone, and thank you, Coalesced. Okay, now on to episode 8. And I know I addressed this in the previous episode, or was it this episode? I think it was this episode. Apologies, I'm not sure when, but I know I addressed this. But one additional excuse, if I may, that I would like to offer is the fact that, as is noted by For Blasphemy here, I read every message around the kindred, the friendly kindred, but did not see the talk prompt. And if I had to offer another excuse, it would be that the talk prompt I assumed was just another message prompt, like read message. But, again, I think at the core of it, for whatever reason, it was beyond the realm of possibility in my mind. I didn't imagine that you could speak with one of them, even though I acknowledged multiple times, the white ones are friendly. Unlike the red ones that we see in other locations who are hostile to us, these white kindred in the realm of shadow are friendly. So I don't know why I didn't make the leap from there to, hey, look, there's a talk button, a talk option. But yeah, I didn't. So my apologies. Okay, this comment is extremely, extremely clever. Manasawasthi writes, "O mother, not the spirited away shaman." So, "O mother," being a reference to that gesture we got, and the spirited away shaman being a reference to the message, the developer message we find right where you're supposed to use that gesture. And, I complained in the previous episode, like, how are you supposed to know this? How are you supposed to know? But I can totally see it now, because that whole town had to do with shamans, and I don't know where the I don't know where the spirited away connection comes from, but the old mother and the shaman part, like, they're connected. And so I should have thought, okay, shaman, like we learned about a shaman somewhere. Where was it? That place where we learned a gesture. Okay, let's try the gesture there. So yeah, I want to be kinder than I was in the previous episode when I was like, this is ridiculous. How are you supposed to know this? But, I do think it's still a bit obscure, but not as obscure as I was making it out to be in the previous episode, certainly. Makavar writes, "If they were actual birds, they'd just fly over," quoting me. And yeah, penguins and ostriches fuming right now. So yeah, fair enough. To be a bird not all birds can fly, so that's a very fair point. I apologize to all the penguins and ostriches watching this, and anyone who may be penguin or ostrich adjacent or friends with a penguin or an ostrich. It was a terribly uneducated thing for me to say, so I appreciate the correction. JL Meyer 7 writes, "The catacombs in the DLC are so far beyond those in the base game, it's not even close. That being said, you missed about half of the side paths in both of them so far." More new stuff to check out in a New Game Plus playthrough. Yeah, now that we've opened up the path that we've been looking for several episodes, I think we will leave this one for the New Game Plus playthrough. but my goodness, I am dreadful at this blind playthrough thing. So I don't know if I finished the thought I was trying to convey earlier, but I do think if we do another first playthrough of a game, I won't call it a blind playthrough. I'll just call it a first playthrough. And instead of doing this thing where I save up all these episodes and then I release them and I stress about what people are going to think, I'm just going to release them as I go. I think that's probably the way to go after the last couple of blind playthroughs and how they've gone. Not that I think they've gone, so poorly, catastrophically bad that, it has me thinking about completely changing things. But just in terms of, it adds a little bit of audience interaction. It makes it less about me trying to comb the world and figure out where to go next and stuff. Like, it puts more of the focus on the game and the discussion, I think, which I think is a better approach. But you all let me know what you think about that in the comment section. I'd be very interested in hearing your thoughts about that suggested change in approach. Oh yeah, I remember I got sidetracked by the whole idea of Elden Ring Night Rain when I brought that up. So let me know what you think about that suggested change in approach for the next quote-unquote first playthrough that I do for the channel. So we're finally on to episode 9, just a couple of episodes of comments left to go before we can get back to the actual game. For Ambition writes, so basically you missed quite a couple of things by now, going to the south before any main progression towards the Black Keep. Hence, it's the reason why there's a site of grace before the stone coffin fissure and inside. Because before the Great Rune of Mikula is broken, a golden light does not let you inside. The other is that you cannot tell about crosses to Ansbach after the charm is no longer in effect. So thank you for Ambition for clarifying all of this. I really appreciate it because, as is pointed out, and thank you also to Jori on Trainer 7489 for pointing out it's a first playthrough. I'll miss a lot, which totally fair point as well, and I appreciate you for saying that. But yeah, I agree with For Ambition. This is something that I would like to. These are the types of things that they're not really super consequential, but it was something I questioned. Why is there a site of grace here and then another site of grace? And the reason now I know is that before the charm is broken, if you were to go there, then a light blocks you. You can't go any further. And so therefore it makes sense that there would be a site of grace on the outside so that someone can save their progress up to that point and then just return there after the charm is broken, or whatever the trigger was. I don't know if it was necessarily the charm, but the second point does have to do with the charm, which is I went and I tried to tell Ansbach about the crosses, but of course he doesn't care anymore after the charm is no longer in effect. So that's why he wasn't interested when I was like, hey, dude, check it out. I found another cross. And he's just like, tarnished. Gosh darn it. I can't do voices anymore. I'm terrible at it. Every voice just ends up sounding like this. Josh K writes, great episode. 2 things I wanted to say. One is, if you didn't figure it out, the fire damage you were doing that was causing the finger creepers to panic comes from your rivers of blood. And yes, I did eventually figure that out, but oh gosh, I feel extremely silly for not figuring that out for so long. The other thing has to do with the interpretation of putrescence in item descriptions you were reading towards the end. The stone coffins, which look like ships, are filled with ancient dead matter, so degraded that you can see it spilling out through the fissure. The remains in those coffins that were sent to the Land of Shadow would once have had their contents processed via one of the ancient methods that Marika and the Golden Order declared anathema, such as burning with ghost flame. Instead, they've been left to fester forever and to sink to the depths, never being put to rest until Saint Trina's influence. Her deep sleep is so similar to death that it apparently even soothes the already dead. So yeah, thanks as always, Josh K, for the extremely insightful and thoughtful comment, because that is something that I wondered about and don't think I would have got there, at least not right away, without being guided in this way. So thank you very much. Yeah, that it really adds to the significance of that area and how wonderful it is from a story perspective, and creepy and awe-inspiring all at once. So yeah, a lot of mixed feelings about that area, but all of them positive, I think, in terms of how interesting the story is. So thank you for this. Okay, moving on to episode 10. Bludgeon 1081 writes, when sleep procs, you normally lose FP, but with the lulling branch, you will not lose any FP once the sleep procs. Essentially, this means you can regain FP for free. However, you will still get stunned a bit when sleep procs. Thank you, Bludgeon 1081, for pointing that out. That's something that I questioned, and I wasn't sure what the point of that would be. And of course, I didn't bother trying it, so I appreciate you for doing the hard work for me and explaining it, so thank you for that. Makavar writes, Furnace Golems are quite tedious to fight, and Commander Gaius Baltar is universally regarded as a difficult and unfun boss by most. When I hearted this comment, I don't even think I noticed the Gaius Baltar thing, but that's good. Don't feel bad about getting lost in Rao Ruins either. It is quite a maze, and I never know how to find everything without help, even on a second playthrough. I missed a lot of the stuff you found on my first, and after wandering around for hours. You kind of stuck a bunch of the most tedious elements of the DLC together in a single episode. That's pretty funny. But yeah, thank you for this. I appreciate hearing that I'm not alone in how I struggle with some of these things. So thank you very much for that. IRLFC9 writes, I really thinking you should do an Armored Core 6 playthrough after this. The gameplay is a little jarring compared to the Souls games, but some DNA is still present. Heavy focus on melee and general reactive gameplay compared to other mech games. Experienced gamers can pick it up easily. More importantly, the story Miyazaki worked on focuses and draws out some themes I think you are interested. It is also shorter than the Elden Ring DLC, let alone the base game. So thank you very much for this. I know that Sophie Pilbeam is a big fan of the Armored Core games and has mentioned to me before that that is something I should consider doing. And again, I would love to. I just don't think I have the time. If I'm going to spend additional time after this playthrough, it's going to be either doing New Game Plus in the base game and or the DLC, and it's going to be finishing Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk Lore. So, maybe somewhere down the road, I appreciate the recommendation, but yeah, it's just a matter of time being too much of a precious resource at the moment. I just don't have any of it to spare. But thank you for the suggestion all the same. Hiva Ego writes, do not get caught up on the convoluted design of the ancient ruins of Rao. It's technically listed as a dungeon alongside the Shadow Keep in the strategy guide as opposed to an open region like Limgrave or Gravesite Plain. Its complex design is meant to be an open-world rendition of your typical Elden Ring legacy dungeon. It's not your typical open-world region. It even has its own dungeon shortcut, with that spirit spring near the end of it. A lot of first-time players struggle with the navigation of this area because they thought its layout would feel more familiar with other open regions in the game. So yeah, again, thank you for the validation of my struggle. I really do appreciate it. Gabrielle Ferrari Psycho Candy writes, hey Aegon, I don't know whether Devonia is a female name, but it's in line with the previous Crucible Knights, named after the different Paleozoic periods. Ordovis for the Ordovician, Siluria for the Silurian, and now Devonia for the Devonian. As a paleontologist, this delights me immensely. So yeah, extremely interesting. Thank you very much for sharing. I love the way FromSoft names their characters and their place names and everything. It just, it adds so much to the game and the lore, and it really makes it very interesting to explore, especially in a context like this, where it's a community exploring the significance of the story and the game together, because no one person can have knowledge of all of these references, because there are so many different references to so many different realms of human experience and knowledge, and so I really appreciate the insight from a paleontologist, so thank you. Okay, so for episode 11, I only have one comment hearted. I don't know if it's that I forgot to heart comments to mark comments to speak about them later, but at this point, I'm just so much looking forward to starting the new area that I'm just going to leave it with this one comment for now. And it's from Ghostmace Killa 821, who writes, you weren't on Hornsent's side. The dialogue you missed with him in Mesmer's arena says that you robbed him of his revenge against Mesmer, and he was pissed, basically. So yeah, as Josh K points out, I did actually meet up with Hornsent again before we had that battle in your Ilum. But yeah, the thesis of his statement was somewhat lost on me, which is that I robbed him of his revenge. And so therefore, that's why he wasn't on my side. So totally makes sense. So I appreciate the clarification and for reminding me about the dialogue that I miss, Josh K, even though I didn't miss it, if that makes sense. So thank you. Okay, now that we are finally caught up on comments. Oh my goodness. I'm so indebted. I actually can proceed now. Furnace Visage, okay. So there's a bunch of dead furnace columns here. Or destroyed furnace columns would perhaps be a more accurate way of putting it. I want to go home. No, I'm perfectly happy to be here. There's another furnace column that is going to turn into a boss or something. We can summon here. That's why I'm suspecting that we have a boss fight coming up. I'm really hoping that that furnace column is not one of the furnace columns that has the protective material, or the protective ankle brace, whatever the heck that was. A lot of furnace visages here. Excuse me. Yeah, there it is. I knew one of them was gonna get up. Okay, do you have leg braces? Doesn't look like you do. Whoops. Uh-oh. Way too close. Oh, thanks for the rating, friends. Oh, what the heck? I thought I rolled through that. Oh. Oh yeah, we have to get the other leg first. It's been so long since I've fought these things. Or does it matter which leg we... I know it might not seem like it's been that long, because it was only a couple episodes ago. But in real time, it's been quite some time. A couple months at least. That's new. Yeah, fighting these things is just so tedious. Oh, that was stupid. Thank you. Ah, that should really be it. We find the connection to the giants from the main game to be quite interesting. I don't remember if I mentioned that previously, but obviously it looks just like the giant you fight on the mountaintops of the giants. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like a representation of them, or it's supposed to be like a trophy or something. What the heck? Oh no, this is gonna be bad. Oh, I hate fighting these things. Wow, that was very close. Oh no. Gosh darn it. Oh, we're so close. Whoa. Okay, we have seen that before, but it's been quite a while. I think they did that in the bridge on Rao Ruins. why I didn't drink my flask, but... Oh, come on. This was not what I had in mind when I was so excited. I was so excited. I was like, yes, we found the way forward. But if you had told me, oh yeah, you gotta fight a furnace column first, and I know I probably don't have to fight them, but they're in the way. So, oh no, oh no. Come on, we're so close. Oh no, oh no, oh no. We're in a bad position. No, come on. Please stay stunned. Please stay stunned. Please stay stunned. Thank you. Oil-soaked tear and furnace visage. So yeah, to finish my thought, the faces of the giants, are they supposed to be like trophies or something? They're wearing them as a trophy of, you know, having murdered all the giants or something. I'm not sure. Okay, let's see. A crystal tear forms slowly over the ages where the scattered sap of the scatter tree pools deep within the furnace columns, can be mixed in the flask of wondrous physic. The resulting concoction temporarily causes the imbiber to break out in an oily sweat, soaking nearby enemies in oil. Oil-soaked enemies are highly susceptible to fire damage. That could have some very interesting applications, I'm sure. Let's have a rest, because, yeah, we're going to need some more flasks after that. It's interesting that this is called a watering hole. So, watering hole is like a slang term for a bar where people go to drink. Please tell me this is not going to come to life. This furnace column, please. I don't want to fight another one. Oh no. Please tell me that's not. But yeah, or this could be the drinking water reservoir for the castle. And also, I don't know why I didn't summon our shield friends. Or regret. I could have summoned him as well. So really no reason for me to be complaining so much. Because I didn't need to do all that by myself. But here we are. Ruins of Unte? Okay, this one thankfully does not seem to be alive. Okay, friends. You have your mandate. You are known for exploring places, so let's explore. Wow, I'm still in disbelief that we're exploring again a new area that we've not been to yet, instead of just scouring the same areas over and over again, trying to figure out where to go. I was certain that the church district was where we needed to go. Like, I was absolutely certain of it. I was like, we clearly missed something in the church district. Because that seemed like the most obvious place, but yeah. Okay. Yep, these are definitely ruins. Lost ashes of war. We've been staring longingly at this location in our binoculars for many weeks. And we're finally here. And there's not a lot here. But obviously this is the gateway to the stuff that we have missed. So presumably we have to jump into the column here. Oh. Okay, that was weird. Okay, maybe not. Maybe we just run up the arm. Okay, that's some weird hitbox stuff. So, maybe we're not supposed to do that. The game can't decide whether it's supposed to be something that you're allowed to do or not. If you're not allowed to do it, I'm not sure why they would have placed it there. It seems a very odd decision to me, but... And if you are supposed to do it, then why is it so difficult? Try rolling. Oh, 5 embers of mesmer. That's a whole lot. I believe when you pick them up, you usually only get 1. So that's it's a score. I have 51 of them now. It's not like I'm ever going to use them anyway, but yeah. See if I can't just like give these away to people. And do like a raffle or something. Who wants all of Aegon's upgrade materials? Because he's never going to use them. Oh, come on. Alright. Yeah, you're clearly not supposed to do that. Oh, they're mourning all their dead here. Please leave them alone, shield friends. Thank you. Much better having them than having Black Knife Tiche. Black Knife Tiche is just way too aggressive. Which obviously has its uses, but... Okay. We've not made it up there yet, but I don't know how the heck we're supposed to. Maybe it just doesn't work on the horse? Yeah, this clearly... They don't want you to do that. It's not their intention. It just seems like such a strange decision to me. Just sort of bounce off of it. It's hard to describe because it looks like I'm just missing, but your character just sort of bounces off of an invisible barrier and like bounces back. Repels is probably a better way of describing it. You're repelled. Let's check in the time of day. It is dreadfully dark here. Yeah, there may be something there, but... Heck if I know how to get it. Oh. Offer fire. So you're just supposed to get them to move out of the way or something? Let's see. So what if I shoot them with a fire arrow? Oh. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be working. What about this whole... We just picked up a bunch of furnace visages. So what about the whirlwind thing? Hefty furnace pot. Was that it? See if I have any other items that require the furnace visage. Really dreadful at puzzles, aren't I? Okay, let's craft 3 of these. See if we'll finally find a use for these things. Okay, before we throw that, let's throw another one to just calibrate. Oh, but we need another hefty pot, so hold on. We need to calibrate our aim first. So, hefty fire pot? Sure. So we'll calibrate it with that first. And then we'll throw the hefty furnace one. I went the wrong way. Okay, let's see. Okay. I don't know if that was what it was supposed to do. Okay, we're hitting the head now, so let's try this one now. Oh, gosh darn it. Okay. No idea what we're supposed to do. Let's try another one. Can we get up there first? So bad at this game. This is the obvious thing to do here. Ah, we did it! Oh no, but now we gotta find them. Gosh darn it. Oh, I don't know what's worse. Alright, let's do it, I guess. Or do we want to just go right by them? I suppose we might as well just finish them off. Oh gosh darn it. Okay, can we summon regret now? No, we can't. Gosh darn it. Okay, this place is really interesting looking. Some wildlife and some weird like spirit grave thing. Gosh darn it, I really don't want to fight another furnace visage, but yeah, we might as well. Oh, okay, they're just wandering off, so that's fine. Let's just do our thing and then be gone, because there's really very little to be gained by killing them. Oh. Oh, sorry, rabbit friend. I guess the furnace visage did that. Because we were running like cowards, but so ultimately it's our fault, but still. Feel bad all the same. Okay, good to know. No item ahead, apparently. I was certain that was going to be a mimic. Giant golden arc. Sorcery of the Inquisitors of the Tower, wielded as an incantation of the Spiral. A swing of the arm releases a giant golden arc, charging enhances potency. The arc resembles the barb, a known symbol of coercive questioning. In other words, torture. Could this be a hidden path? First column's just sitting there now. I love how long it took me to figure out that that's what you were supposed to do. Raise the stone sheathed sword to the light. Oh! We picked up that sword. Where was it? Rao Ruins, I think? It was like a sword in the stone type thing. Was it a key item? We're still carrying around some bell bearings too. We're gonna have to hand those in soon. Unless this is an item we don't have. But I could have sworn that we picked up something like that in the Rao Ruins, but yeah, let's see. Oh no. Oh, okay, unless it was that and then it became this. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sword of Light pulled from its stone scabbard at an altar. From the quick of the root, unswerving rays of light intersect and reflect to give the silver blade form. Unique skill, Light, unleashes the light carved in the armament's blade. Send the sword aloft to let loose a blinding light, whose many rays sweep through the surrounding area. Also temporarily boosts one's own holy attacks. Let's get a look at it. Excuse me. Yeah, it looks pretty cool, but like, presumably because we don't have the... What the heck? Make it sort of levitate? What did it say? Unleashes the light carved in the armament's blade. Send the sword aloft. Yeah, indeed. To let loose a blinding light whose many rays sweep through this. Okay, very interesting. Okay. Let's re-equip our Rivers of Blood. So that's pretty cool, but obviously not suited to our present build, so... Let's just do one final sweep before we leave to make sure we're not missing anything crucial. The message did say no item ahead. Okay. So yeah, so we picked up that other item somewhere else and then brought it here, exposed it to the light, and then that turned it into that weapon. So, or it allowed us to unsheath the sword. So that's pretty cool. I wish I could remember what the item description was for that item, but it's lost in the ether of my mind somewhere. Just as that item was lost in my inventory, so it is what it is. Okay. It's another site of grace, that's good. This water does not look very appetizing. Yeah, indeed, Castle Watering Hole. Like, that has to mean that that's like the reservoir, drinking water reservoir, but yeah, who knows. Recluses River Upstream. So it's a river of recluses. Okay, how are we supposed to get down there? Unless I'm not seeing a spirit spring somewhere, perhaps. Ah. Bunch of holes here, it seems. So we're just supposed to skip across to the other side. Some flymen, fly people, whatever they're called. Man flies, that's what it was. Okay, there's an item over on that other side there, so we're going to want to grab that. Oh. Well played, friend. I didn't think you had any projectile attacks. Okay, that's a long jump, or at least it looks like a long jump, but no, actually it's not that long at all. Never mind. I have perception issues in this game, clearly. So there's another item up here. Oh, that's it. Nice ambush, but yeah. Dog ahead. So we have to access that area somehow. Presumably we'll find a place up ahead here, and then we'll have to backtrack, I guess. More man flies here. We have been there, I think, or have we? I don't think we have, actually. It's too low down. Can we convince these fans? I see there's items there also. Convince them to just walk off the edge or something. Let's see. No, we're just gonna make them mad, and then they'll be extra upset by the time we get there. That's fine. Yeah, okay, good times. It is wonderful to not be stuck anymore. Oh, well played. Oh, there's a lot of man flies. Site of Grace. Ah, and there are the graves that we can use to climb down. I'll probably also just jump down there. But first things first, Site of Grace. Is this too much of a jump? Nope. Again, perception issues. close. Oh, man. Oh. If we get one more Scatter Tree blessing, then we can, yeah, increase our level once again. That would be tremendous. Give us a little added boost for Mikola and Radon. I was about to say Radagon again. I think I figured out why I was getting so confused. And it's because in my notes, I used the short form RAD. Rad. And for whatever reason, I felt like that belonged more to Radagon than to Radon. So, apologies, Radon, for overlooking you. Okay, so we can go down that way. And there are graves here for that purpose as well, I believe. Thought we saw a grave somewhere. Yeah, right there. Not even gonna bother picking that up, whatever that is. But I think we can also jump down over here. Or can we? Or we just keep going over here. Okay, I see an item on the cliff facing, or the cliff, I should say, edge of the cliff. Fly mold. Thank you. Ooh, there's another one of those tombs that have a boss in it, presumably. There's another hippopotamus, golden hippopotamus. So it's possible, because remember we watched that trailer and I said, oh yeah, the golden hippopotamus in the open world does not turn into the golden, they don't have that second phase, the golden form. But it's possible that the one I found didn't, but this one does. So it's possible the one in the trailer I was seeing is actually this one. So we'll have to wait and see. Just to think that I was slagging off everyone for watching trailers and picking them apart and then being like, yeah, you know, us real people, we don't do that. We just get surprised and we're not looking out for things. And here I am being like, oh, we noticed this in the trailer. So yeah, I get it. Just forget everything I was saying previously. If I had more time, as I mentioned, I would be right there with all of you probably doing that, so. And these are those death birds we annoyed. Death birds, whatever they're called, grave birds. The death birds, the death right birds are the specific boss kind, but love it when the skulls get like trapped like this. Yeah, I'm just gonna let that one live in peace. Enjoy. Here's a developer message, interestingly enough. Let's see what it says. I shall find my center under the cascading waters. Find my sense, so presumably here. So cascading meaning like a series of waterfalls. Okay, interesting. Another puzzle. Because I've been so good at addressing all the puzzles up to this point. So FromSoft just like, let's just throw him another one. He'll figure it out eventually. So one of the comments will bail him out, I'm sure. Ooh, Dryleaf Seal. Sacred seal of the spiritual seekers known as the Dryleaf Sect. Enhances incantations which conjure rings of light. Those who saw the decline of the Erdtree in the fallen leaves long ago braced themselves for the weakening of order and embraced a strict faith, and then they made to serve a new god. So yeah, all those endings starting with the fallen leaves tell a story, or perhaps that was the intro cinematic, I can't recall, but one of the two spoke of the fallen leaves telling a story, so clearly telling a story about the death of the Erdtree that was imminent at that point. The Dry Leaf Sect, apt name now that I'm thinking about it, because it's a sect that formed as a result of the leaves falling dry, because it heralded the eventual death of the Erdtree, or served as a sign that the Erdtree was dying, is perhaps more accurate to say. Okay, so from here I think we can backtrack. I can hear a scarab though, and I don't want to let it go. But I also don't think I can get back up here if we did descend. So let's continue in this direction first, or backtrack, I suppose. It's not technically backtracking because we've not been in this direction at the river level yet, but certainly we've been in this direction. It's another Aldrich's goo. Yeah, I suspect we're probably a little bit over the recommended scatter tree fragment level for this area at this point. In other words, this is the Weeping Peninsula of the DLC as far as my playthrough progression is concerned, compared to my blind playthrough of the base game, where we did the Weeping Peninsula quite late. Just trying to make sure we're not missing items in any of these paths here. Oh, coffin. Oh, wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. Totally worth going back for. Good stuff. Okay. Mikola and Radon are not going to know what hit them. Give me all the scatter tree fragments, please. I need them. Just give them all to me. What a reversal over the course of the playthrough, honestly. In fact, I don't think anyone has, because I believe it was in episode 12 where I first started just like, you know, please just take all of them. I just want all the scatter tree fragments. I want to burn them all. Up until that point, I'd still been pretty, like, you know, reserved about it and being like, oh yeah, we'll burn one maybe if we need it later on. But so, you know, I've not released that episode yet, episode 12. So I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's reaction to me finally caving and just being like, please just give me all the scatter tree fragments. That's all I want. All I want for Christmas is scatter tree fragments. Terrible. I'm sorry. Alright, that's good. It's a good thing we can ride Torrent here. Let's not have to bother fighting all the Aldrich's goo friends. I know they have a... Ooh, the dry leaf set. Okay, interesting. So, obviously, we fought Dryleaf Dane. It's part of that NPC battle in Inner Ilum. But I guess we didn't get a set in the end. Moldmonger's bell bearing. So was there a merchant there that I missed? The bell bearing of a horn-sent moldmonger who did not survive the war. So no, it's not someone we were responsible for, whose death we were responsible for. Okay, that's for fly mold, the description for which we've already read, so no need to read it again. Dryleaf Cuissardes, I'm sorry I butchered that, but sun-faded and lightly soiled travel attire worn by clergymen, boots made of sturdy leather. And the arm wraps are wound tightly around the arms as if it might prevent them from being broken. And the robe has a gold necklace found under the breast that belongs to a group of spiritual seekers known as the Dryleaf Sect. So that's this, right? So this isn't a weapon? It's a strike weapon. Oh, sorry, it's a seal. Okay, never mind. So like a talisman, okay. But not a talisman in Elden Ring terms, sorry. Still using dated terminology. Okay. I think that's it. I think we just need to proceed now. So we could have just gone down here from the Site of Grace, but of course this works as well. How far is the hippopotamus? Wondering if we can load them up with poison arrows. So yeah, really good not just to be exploring a new area again, but also to be recording again, because as I mentioned, in between watching one of the trailers we watched earlier in the episode, it had been about a month and a half since I had last recorded, and there are a few reasons for that. Things have just been bonkers at work for me, bonkers at work for my wife, so we've just had to spell each other at various points. Or I would take care of a relay of Astora while my wife was working on the weekend, and vice versa. And so, you know, we didn't really have much of a choice. It was just one of those periods of time where just everything was busy. And, yeah, just had no time. And then in addition to all that, that skull just fell out of the sky. That was very strange. In addition to all of that, I was working on the video essay that was presented in the previous episode, and I don't think I mentioned it in that episode, but essentially that was just a line in my notes that I originally, in that episode, you know, I had my notes that I wanted to go through, and I was discussing various things, and then I came to that item on the notes, and obviously, it became obvious to me at that point that that was something that if I was going to talk about it, it was incumbent upon me to do my research and to make sure that I was talking about it in a way that was actually, you know, I wasn't just speaking off the cuff about it, because it was obviously a controversial topic and not one that should be considered controversial in my opinion, but it is controversial nevertheless. And so I wanted to make sure that I was treating it with the appropriate level of care and rigor in how I approached the segment and talked about it. And yeah, I hope that I accomplished that for those of you who watched it, and for those of you who didn't, why didn't you watch the previous episode? So but yeah, so that took quite a long time of doing the research, making sure that the script was well written, that I wasn't sort of going beyond the scope of what I was trying to do, which was very difficult because, you know, I can talk about Palestine and everything that's happening there for hours on end without much in the way of a script or anything. Okay, Boar, please leave me alone. Oh gosh, darn you. Stop it. And yeah, so that was one of the reasons, but so, you know, for all of this spare time that I had, which was basically nothing, but, you know, 10 or 15 minutes before bed here and there, where I would come to my computer and instead of recording Elden Ring, I would be just working on a script, and then had to record the script and bits and then find footage and, all the things that are involved in the production of a video essay that are above and beyond what is normally required for putting together one of these episodes. Really added to the length of time that episode required, that being episode 13. But it's finally finished and rendered and uploaded. And so now, this is, episode 14. And I'm about caught up. I've edited everything up to the stuff I started recording today. Oh, gosh darn it. Today is Saturday, March 8th. Recording. Hope you're all still having a wonderful and fantastic day today. Celebrate the end of the busy season. And of Astora took a Relay of Astora out so that I could have some recording time. And so started with the comments and watching the videos, the trailers and whatnot. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so again, I mentioned that in the trailer it shows the golden hippopotamus being fought in sort of an open world area, and I was thinking, that's strange because it didn't go into golden mode for me. And again, that sort of seems to have been an earlier version of the open world encounter, or perhaps I've not actually come across the one that does go into the golden form yet, so who knows. But all of that is to say, it's been a while. But I'm happy to be back. Okay. Okay, let's see if this is the one now. Oh, that's funny. I didn't realize there were multiple. Oh. Ouch. Oh, that was dumb. Oh, thankfully we got away with it though. Dreadful display of dodging ability. All right. Oh, that's absolutely tremendous. Hopefully we pick up a few more. I'm gonna burn every single one we get. Just you wait. I'm gonna have a whole ritualistic aspect of it too. So we got some plans in the works. Don't worry. Who would have thought this whole playthrough would be the Erdtree fragment arc of Aegon of Astora. First he rejected the Erdtree fragments, and then he made it the whole point of his existence. I do not want to be in a world where Erdtree fragments are not burned immediately and without question. What sort of being would I be if I did not? Okay, I'll stop. Stop. I know it's not funny, but I find my lack of funniness funny sometimes, if that makes any sense. Apologies, I'm also sick, so I've been having some Dayquil, and I find that makes me a bit weird and woozy sometimes, so yeah, apologies. Okay, so I think those graves there are probably our only way forward. I seem to be walking in circles at this point, so yeah, it looks to be the only way forward, so let's do it. I have to remind myself sometimes to breathe when doing platforming segments. Just now I was holding my breath and only just realized it. It's okay. All the golden hippopotami are gone. So even if we die here, we can just run back. It's not a problem, Aegon. Just chill. Okay, this place does not look... Oh! I should have... As soon as I saw it was all misty, I should have known that these friends would be here. I gotta look out for traps also. Yep, there's a trap. How the heck? What is my arrow hitting? A bush? Oh, okay, I guess they're... I thought they were closer based on the fact that we were able to lock on, but I guess not. Okie dokie. I don't like this one bit. Lock-on mechanic is extremely helpful here. And in all such situations where there are hostile beings obscured. Okay, I suspect there's going... Yeah, indeed, target lock ahead. I suspect there's going to be catacombs here because we have one of these Sanshum friends whose actual name or title I've since forgotten. And also because it's all misty, just like that other area. What was it? The Fog Rift, I believe it was called. Which was to the side of... Where was it? Fog Rift, right there, indeed. Okay. So yeah, very similar setup to that other dungeon that we found. Okay, I don't know why. Oh, we did hit them. But it's like we hit them accidentally. I don't even think that was the one we were aiming at. Get wrecked, mate. It's funny, we went from running through the previous area to crouching and very slowly creeping through this one. That's what these friends will do to you. What are they called again? Gosh darn it. The vulgar militiamen. Thank you, brain. They do strike fear in the heart, that's for sure. I always think back to, what was it? In Caelid, this area here, Farum, where there's the Great Bridge with the dragon, and then this area with all of the vulgar militiamen. And so, of course, you think, I'm not going to go over the bridge where there's a massive dragon named, who the area's named after, just guarding it. Why would I do that? That's stupid. But then you go in the other direction, you get absolutely obliterated by all of the vulgar militiamen and their traps. So, that was when I developed an unflinching respect for them. So I assume there's nothing here because of all the blood stains. People just jumping off the edge. Yeah. No map ahead. Okay. Where is the map then? Oh yeah. So everyone's just looking for the map for the lighthouse. It's terrible that when I did try to do that in the main game, it worked out just fine because that sort of led me to believe that when we came to the DLC, that was going to be a strategy that would work. Oh yeah, there's the entrance to the catacombs. Very nice. Darklight Catacombs. That doesn't sound pleasant at all. I'm just reminded of that comment that said we missed a whole bunch of the side paths in some of the catacombs that we've done. Gosh darn it. Yeah, that's not happening today. Alright, let's burn our Scadutree fragment. Why the heck not? Okay, so the next level is 3, and we have 2, so just one more at this point, and then we'll be all the more powerful. Good stuff. Oops. I just turned off my lantern. I was like, that's not enough light. Clearly, it was more than I was supposed to have. I hate these things. Wow, you are strong. Jeez Louise. Okay, it is very dark here. Don't like this. Don't like how dark it is. Okay, is this another invisible bridge situation? Nope. Does not seem that way. Okie dokie. Some Fulgur Bloom here. Come on, I'm not going to rush you so your friends can back you up, friend. Appreciate your attempt, but yeah, not happening. The corpse falling over really scared me there. Oh yeah, I can see the sniper. Thank you. Oh gosh darn. Seeing and taking care of them are two different things, clearly. Bright spot. Ah. Oh, that's nice. Okay, interesting. Sort of like the catacombs. Gosh, I'm forgetting. Dark Souls 2, I played a ton of hours of Dark Souls 2, like a ton of hours. How am I forgetting the name of one of the most important areas of the game? Where you find King Vendrick. And this was underdeveloped in the original release of the game, but the area is quite dark and you can light it up. And in the Scholar of the First Sin version of the game, it changes the way the different friends in the area react to you, so... Don't remember the specifics, because, yeah, I clearly have a dreadful memory, but... I was wondering if there's something similar here, but it doesn't seem to have had any impact, really. But for all I know, I could be missing it because I've not actually done the area yet, of course. You need to do it without the light and then with the light to be able to actually be able to tell whether there's any distinct difference. Or just read the wiki page or something. Okay. It's one of these friends. Gotcha. They're really hoping that you stop for that item. Not happening. Yep, that's an abyss. Interesting. Oh. Okay, thank you. We missed the talisman. I adore messages like that. Because clearly, I'm not good enough at the game myself to figure that stuff out. Another thing I was thinking about, that illusory wall we missed. I've not gone back and looked at the footage beyond seeing that there was no messages on the floor. And I was blaming the thing on that. But then I was thinking, wait, how did we get back up? Because if we had to warp, then yes, that is obviously a very, very ridiculous thing to have missed. Because it should have been very obvious if we had to warp back up to the top that there was an alternate exit there. Because FromSoft doesn't just let you sort of leave you to warp back usually. I wish I could upvote that message twice. Ooh, I wish I could upvote it 3 times. Viridian Amber Medallion +3. A medallion with Viridian Amber inlaid. Boosts maximum stamina by the utmost. The Erdtree's old sap becomes amber, treasured as the most precious of jewels in the age of Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. These medallions, of the largest variety, were conferred to Godwyn's inner circle of distinguished golden knights. That is a tremendous boon. Because we've been using the +2 variant. Only 4 stamina, but hey, that's better than 0 stamina, that's for sure. Good stuff, okay. Shout out to whoever left that message. Thank you. Okay, next level. Wonder how many side paths I missed already. Why is it always betrayal? Good question. Oh, okay. Interesting. Have we ever seen one of these statues that did not have its arms removed or its head removed or something? I feel like we haven't, but I could be completely wrong about that. Now I saw this friend, but was not quick enough to get them before they could attack me. What? Oh, they're up top here. Well played, friend. Well played. Okay, get wrecked. We were gonna have to go up there eventually because there's an item up there, but okay. So we can drop down. Who are you? Oh, it's just one of these friends. So we can drop down or go this way. No, come on. One hit. Gosh darn it. Thank you. Okay, let's drop down. Ah, okay. Yeah. We don't need to seek revenge because we already took care of them, but all the same, I thought it was going to be a while until we had actually gone back there, so that works. Shadow Realm Rune level 5. I assume we've read that already. In a long-forgotten place where none would tread, the light of grace quietly grew ever more brilliant. Interesting. So yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole original sin thing and what that could possibly mean. But yeah, whatever it was, it seems to have been that which gave rise to gold and, by extension, shadow. If I was interpreting those story trailers correctly. I should have known. Just it's about to pick up the item standing right in the ledge. I'm like, wait a second, what am I doing? I know better than this. I ought to have known. Oh, Death Knight set. That's interesting. I'm going to downvote this message, though, because it is annoyingly on top of the item. Are you alive? No. Death Knight Greaves. Golden Greaves of the Death Knights, adorned with an antiquated depiction of the Erdtree, enhances skills and incantations of the capital's ancient dragon cult. These knights, once Godwyn's personal guard, quested to find their transfigured master's cadaver surrogate for the coming age of the Duskborn. Cadaver surrogate, so yeah, so that's a reference to Fia. I think we pointed that out in an earlier episode, but it's interesting also that it says that they're adorned with an antiquated depiction of the Erdtree. So one that predated the Golden Order, presumably? Golden Helm of the Death Knights, whose own death mask served as the vizards of their armor. As a death mask, okay. The decayed golden wheel that adorns it represents their unbroken loyalty to Godwyn, he who became Prince of Death. Okay, interesting. I don't think there's anything that we didn't already know there, but yeah, it covers up Regret's beautiful, beautiful face, so we're gonna stick with our current gear at the moment. For the moment, I should say. Oh, no, we're getting close, Aegon. Ouch. Well played, friend. Nice hyper armor. What would I do without a bow? Okay, we'll finish them off later. Or can we? No, there's nowhere else to go from here. I thought I saw stairs somewhere. Oh yeah, they're way the heck further up there. Okay. So we should just finish them off now. If possible. Oh my goodness. I shouldn't say things. Speak so confidently. Typically it doesn't work out for me. Okay. We're gonna go up these stairs before we go down there. Try to pull this friend in here so that we're not outnumbered in a dark room. I think we'll still be outnumbered, so let's pull this one also. Oh, that seems to have been it. Okay. All the same, my cowardice has kept us alive up to this point, so nothing wrong with being a cowardice. Being a coward sometimes in Souls games. Unless you're Kenneth Haidt or what's his face from House Hoslow. Scum, both of them. What the heck? This is all feeling very familiar. This is where we came from, isn't it? Wow, so we just looped back around. That's pretty amazing. Okay, so let's head up now. I don't like how narrow all of these corridors are. Okay, here we go again. Wow, lag. Okay. See what looks like a cathedral down there. That's pretty bonkers. It's like a church or something with a roof. And it appears to be more or less in the direction we're going. Oh wait, we just came from here, didn't we? Well, I suppose at least now we can see where we're going. So, that's a plus. Doesn't mean I'm gonna be able to figure out the way forward, but sure can't hurt. Okay, yeah, we already got that. Time for armor, therefore up. Oh, yeah, okay, so it's a reference to the armor we just picked up, presumably. Yeah, because they were wearing that while doing the gesture as well, so clever. Alright, now we're going down to level 3, I suppose. Fortunately, each level seems to have its own separate lighting system, which is fair enough. Okay, and this stake of Marika is also intact. Weird. Oh my goodness, that's a giant fireball cannon thing. Okie dokie. Do we just try dashing through? I guess let's go for it. Oh. I don't know where we're going. So this seems like a terrible idea. Oh my goodness. No, I didn't even get to read that message. Okay. Safe spot? Is that what this is saying? Lever, okay. Let's go get the lever. Okay, thankfully that friend is not an exceptional aim. They don't have great aim, I should say. The doggo upstairs is... Okay, I guess they can aim better now that they can see, which makes sense. Shouldn't have said anything. Oh, I just walked right into that also. Okay. Thankfully they're not super strong. Okay. Peaceful. Very peaceful now. Yeah, it's another abyss, it looks like. Do we want to go down here first? No, okay. That's where we proceed, seemingly. So let's exhaust everything else before we proceed in that direction. Thanks again, everyone, for being here with me. I really do appreciate it. And don't take it for granted that, you know, the DLC has been out for more than half a year at this point, I think. June 21st it came out. We established earlier in the episode. And it's now, on the date of recording, March 8th, 2025. So, 8.5 months or something like that. Big Mouth Imp Ashes. So, yeah, I appreciate you all being here tremendously. I hope you know that. Ashen remains in which spirits yet dwell, used to summon the spirit of a large-mouthed imp. The spirit of this old imp, said to be fashioned after a dragon, has a big mouth that serves as a cannon and allows it to fire shells from the rear of the battlefield. Okay, that's cool. Unfortunately, I suspect they would follow you anywhere, so like, you can't, presumably anyway, you can't sort of set them up in a position and command them to stay there. But maybe I'm wrong, because you can do that with Latenna, obviously, so who knows. Oh. Oh, that was terrible. Okay, so is that it now? Have we missed anything? Why is it always liar? Okay, that's where the lever is. Yeah. Why is it always liar indeed? Okay, that seems to be it, so let's head down to the next level. 24 minutes we've been doing this dungeon, so these are not the short dungeons of the base game, that's for sure. They really did go with a quality over quantity approach to these new dungeons, so I appreciate that tremendously. I think they're a big improvement over those in the base game. So this has got to be the boss room now, right? Indeed. Okie dokie. This is not going to end well, I don't think, but let's go for it. Jori, Elder Inquisitor. Whoa, okay. So they're Hornsend. Ouch. I thought I was going to be right on the edge there. Oh, that hurts. Okay, cool magic friend. Ouch. Well played. Okay, oh. That's one of those Godskin Apostle friends. That's interesting. Oh, I thought I had them. Ouch. Come on, just need to proc bleed. Oh, get wrecked. Okay, not off to a good start here. So he's raising all these friends from the graves. That's pretty clever stuff. Just have to keep him busy so that he doesn't summon his friends, but I think it might just be the second phase that he does that. Come on, one more hit. One more hit, Aegon. Oh, get out of the way. Oh my goodness, one more hit. Get wrecked. Okay. Barbed staff spear. That's cool. What is going on here? Where in the world are we? So this may in fact be the way forward through this dungeon. Sort of reminiscent of the stuff we saw in Mohg's boss room, but not really. Very striking, this place, though. First off, seems familiar. Does it? Am I missing something? Oh, could this be madness? Yeah, so it's like the frenzied flame. Okay, interesting. Alright, let's have a rest. Forsaken Graveyard. Great Staff of Jori, Elder Inquisitor. The tip bristles with golden barbs symbolic of the Inquisition's torture, allowing one to wield the staff as a great spear. Attacks deal holy damage, and potency increases with faith. Unique skill, Jori's Inquisition thrusts the great staff into the air, firing off a succession of golden barb-like arcs. Holding the button down extends the barrage for a short duration. Okay, you know, I'm extremely tempted to proceed from here, but I also think this is a good ending spot because, you know, we're not finishing this area in this episode, certainly, given the amount of time we spent discussing viewer comments and everything. So I think that's going to do it for this one. So thank you all very, very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.